Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. Hope you're all doing well. Lots to get into this morning. How are we all feeling? I tweeted it this morning that in many ways I feel worse this morning than I did yesterday morning. I suppose yesterday morning there's a lot of shock, there's a lot of numbness. Today the reality hits in. We're not going to be in the Champions League draw tomorrow, and Spurs winning last night. I thought Arsenal did a good job against Liverpool even though they lost. It really hits home what a shit show Manchester United is. And the spin starts. We've got lots to talk about this morning. We've got the Telegraph, we've got the Athletic and their journalists talking about United. We know that they get good info from United. Is the spin machine starting? We'll be talking about managers. We'll be talking about a midfielder being targeted that plays for Ajax by Manchester United as well, coming from sources that we know get info from the club. So we've got to take notice of it. Gary Neville comes out with his best statement in about 9 months. We'll talk about that as well in relation to the Glazers. Lots and lots to get into. Also, I just want to say as well, look, the spin's going to kick in. Spinning around. Kylie Minogue's in my kitchen spinning around. This is going to happen. But I must just say this. I expect any football club after the position we're in at the moment to come out and try and spin some positivity. Spin is not always a bad thing. If you own a business and you're in a bad position and you've got access to loads of social media outlets, you're going to try and spin a positive. You can't just go, we are absolutely crap at our jobs, don't watch us anymore, don't turn up to games, don't buy the shirts, we're bloody useless. I mean, it would be quite refreshing, but nobody's going to do that. They've got, I totally agree there has to be a path out there has to be a path out of this. You've got to try and get the fans going again, but ultimately the trust of the people doing it is the issue, isn't it? It's not, I don't really have a problem with the spin. I don't really have the problem with the information being leaked to put positivity out there. It's just the people who put it out there can't be trusted. That's the problem. And as Gary Neville said, the Glazers need to go. Absolutely. So look, let's fire straight into this. I suppose the first thing I want to talk about, the first thing I'm going to talk about is the Ten Hag midfielder that's been targeted. So this is coming from Laurie Whitwell in The Athletic. He's spoken about a few things. He's spoken about the budget that could be impacted by COVID and whether the Europa League will impact on it. He spoke on the manager situation as well. But I just want to jump in on this because this is not coming from a tier 5 source or anything like that. I would say The Athletic and Laurie Whitwell, who's the Manchester United correspondent, I wouldn't say they're tier 1 in my opinion because they get very good information, but I feel it's manipulated by the club information. It's never really about tactics. It's never really negative about players or anything like that. It's always quite positive stuff. So it feels like it's coming from the club. But it's good information and it's not coming from, I don't know, I'm trying to think. It's not coming from bloody some prat. It's not coming from me. I suppose. Use me. I'll take one for the team. So at the end of the day, I think there's an interesting story here. So Ryan Gravenberch, who is Ajax midfielder, effectively there's a story coming from The Athletic this morning saying that Manchester United have scouted Ryan Gravenberch as a potential midfield option for them this summer. It then goes on to say that they're not particularly confident about it because they think Bayern Munich want him and Bayern Munich have good connections with Mino Raiola. Now, that story to me classed as spin. It will get people excited because Gravenberch is a very good midfielder, very good young midfielder, and it will get certain aspects of our fan base excited. But it's complete and utter crap, and it's total spin. I'd love them to go, right, buy him now to shut Goldbridge up. We win. But I tell you what, we get so experienced in what United do that story to me, all right, it's coming from a decent source. He's probably had that verified from somebody in the club that they scout a lot of players. But it's complete and utter nonsense, in my opinion, because you just have to use your brain. Ryan Gravenberch makes sense. He is a midfielder. He plays under Ten Hag. If you get Ten Hag, you get Ryan Gravenberch. It makes completely sense. We need a midfielder. We need a manager like that. Wow, that's great. Suddenly we're feeling positive, aren't we? We're absolutely embarrassing this season. We're not in the Champions League. We're struggling for top 4. But suddenly I'm thinking Ten Hag. I'm thinking Ryan Gravenberch. It doesn't matter if it doesn't happen. They've won. They've got you feeling a little bit less pissed off than you did yesterday. Doesn't matter that we won't get Ten Hag. Doesn't matter that we won't get Gravenberch. It's about mentality. It's about calming your frustration. If you wake up this morning and you read that story about Ryan Gravenberch, you start to think, he'd be brilliant. You start to think, oh, we'd get Ten Hag. And even though we won't get either of them, they've still calmed your frustration. And that's what spin is. Do I think we're getting Ryan Gravenberch? No. Do I think it's about calming the fans' frustration and making them excited about things that won't happen, but it'll make them forget about what they were frustrated about in the first place? Yes, that's what spin is. The reason I don't think we'll get Ryan Gravenberch, right? Simple as this, using my brain, like many of you will already. Why would Manchester United lose Paul Pogba for free and then get Ryan Gravenberch? Paul Pogba is Mino Raiola's client. Mino Raiola and Paul Pogba have resisted contracts for the last 2.5 years to run it down and lose United tens of millions of pounds. And we're going to go and lose a midfielder and then replace him with another Mino Raiola client. Come on. Not going to happen. I don't think it... Well... It's just not logical, is it? It's not logical. You lose a midfielder that you spent £90 million on, whose agent has slagged you off for 3 years and basically run his client's contract down, and you're going to go, oh, that's a real shame, that is. Can we have Ryan Gravenberch from you as well, please? It's just ridiculous. Just not... So as Mino Raiola and Paul Pogba walk off into the distance, making tens of millions of pounds in signing on fees because they're free and it should have been coming to us, we're going to go, before you take us for a fucking ride, can we pay you a little bit more money for Ryan Gravenberch? It's just not going to happen, is it? It would be ridiculously stupid. It's not going to happen. But there's a story this morning linking us to him and people will get excited about it. You just need to work it out. It's the same as the story about Lewandowski last week. I said, Lewandowski, look, I would love Ryan Gravenberch and I would love Lewandowski, but Lewandowski is not coming to Manchester United because we are shit. He's the best number 9 in the world. He's not going to come to United. Oh, I really fancy playing Thursday night football and battling with Everton next season. That's really what I want to do in my last few years, because basically I'm just a big mercenary who wants to earn loads of money. Does Lewandowski strike you as the sort of man that just wants to earn a lot of money and play in the Europa League and basically retire at United? Again, it's just another story to make us feel positive. Do you think Ronaldo would definitely leave if we fail to finish top 4, says Divyansh? I do. I'm not going to dwell on that because there's loads to get through, but thanks for the super chat. I do think he will go, yeah, definitely. I do think he will go. Anyway, let's carry on. Let's just go through the athletic stuff. So, Ryan Gravenberch, apparently United are interested, but they think he's going to go to Bayern Munich. I mean, it's a non-story anyway. We'd like him, but he's going to go to Bayern Munich, but we wouldn't buy him anyway because he's a Mino Raiola client. Waste of time. Completely put out there to make you feel positive. The more important thing I would say is about the budget. The COVID issue still hasn't gone away. We heard about the COVID issue with United all through COVID. It was going to impact our transfer budget. In fairness, it didn't really impact us last summer. We still spent £74 million on Sancho, 40 million on, a little bit less than 40 million on Varane, and we got Ronaldo. So we spent over £100 million last year. So I don't think that the transfer budget is going to be, regardless of COVID restrictions and on budgets, I don't think that that's going to massively impact on United's transfer budget. I expect it to be about £100 million, and I don't think the Europa League will impact on it either. So I'm not massively worried about the budget. I'm not going to throw... You know how I work. I can be quite a moaner. I accept that, but we've got a lot to moan about. But I'm not going to throw false shade at things that just to moan for moaning's sake. I don't think the budget is a concern. We've always spent a lot when we're in the Europa League. There's a big chance we'll be in the Europa League, and I think we'll spend about 100 million. I'd like us to spend more, but as we know, the Glazers won't do that. But 100 million could still get us some decent players. I don't expect that to be a problem. And also spoke about Tuchel. This is from Laurie Whitwell in The Athletic as well, saying that beyond Manchester United are keen to stress that they are looking at managers beyond Pochettino and Ten Hag, although there's not really that much evidence of it. Tuchel is a manager that they really admire. I would say Manchester United, it seems to me this morning that Manchester United's number one target for the managerial job is Tuchel, but I think everybody accepts that it's very unlikely, even though there's an indication that Tuchel would look at Manchester United if he decided to leave Chelsea. But for me, as I said yesterday, it's pie in the sky talk. Joseph says, off topic, Mark, did you see Rashford after the game? I didn't personally see it, Joseph. I know it sort of hit last night. I was doing That's Football last night, so I spoke about it on there. I mean, ultimately, I can't talk about it in great depth because I spoke about it on That's Football, but the Rashford thing, I mean, there's always two sides to the story, like he says. Ultimately, he's not playing very well, and he's reacted, he's apologised for that. I think move on. I think the most important thing is that Manchester United has become a brand and not a football club, and therefore every player has become a brand. And I think if Marcus Rashford didn't have such a big brand around him and didn't do all this stuff off the pitch, which is fantastic, he wouldn't need to come out and do statements straight away about videos where he's expressed frustration at a fan. If that was just a normal footballer who's expressed frustration, I don't think it would matter that much, really. You know, fans aren't happy with Rashford anyway. If he reacts angrily to somebody shouting at him, does it really matter? But ultimately, because United are such a brand, and Marcus Rashford's a brand, you've got to protect your brand because it's all about positivity. So we get lost in this stuff. And, you know, the one thing I would say about Rashford as well is he came out and said he's been getting abuse for weeks. Well, I don't want to be blunt, but if you put yourself in the public eye and you're a footballer, you're going to get abuse if you're not playing well. Even if you're playing well, you're going to get abuse from rivals. So I think ultimately, just don't listen. Don't get involved in reading social media. Just don't do it. I think our players are too social media obsessed because the club have turned them into that. I think our players are victims of this club. This club is so obsessed with social media and interaction and growth that I think our players become obsessed by it as well, and it must have a draining impact on their mental health, to be fair, because I've spoken to people like Incy who said, I just didn't read the papers. Don't read the papers because it's only going to do your mental health and focus bad. Don't listen to the papers. You're your own critic. You know whether you've had a good game or a bad game. Focus on your football, and it's true. If you live your life looking for praise on social media, you're gonna have mental health issues. Trust me, because there will be people out there saying horrible things about you as well. What do you think? What happens with Donny this summer? Says David. We'll have to just wait and see. Hopefully he'll play again for Newcastle tonight. For Everton tonight, and hopefully he'll do well. And I think with Pogba going, he may well be an option for us where we don't have to buy somebody else. We're an American brand who tries to be a football club. Sad part is that I've planned a trip to Manchester from Sweden just to watch my team play, but I feel that's not happening anymore with this team. Says Nilas. Anyway, from one good source who seems to get fed information by the club in Laurie Whitwell, we move on to James Ducker in The Telegraph. He says this, the manager choice is gathering pace, but it is slowing down recruitment. Ten Hag and Poch are dividing opinion amongst United staff. So I would say this morning that there's good briefs coming out from the club that they are really, really keen to. There's two things really. Tuchel appears to be the number one target, but they're very unlikely to get him. But the club are also very keen, and I think you can take this to the bank really, considering where the information's coming from, two sources that do get good information from the club. The club are at pains to express to the wider world that they are conducting a wide, extensive search for a manager. But the lack of evidence around that really doesn't suggest that they are. It very much feels like for months now that it's Ten Hag and Pochettino. It feels like it's that now. But United are clearly trying to throw other names in, like Tuchel, which is a bit like Gravenberch. It's just not going to happen. Enrique, which we already know is not going to happen because he won't leave Spain until Christmas. They've mentioned, I can't pronounce his name as well, Lopetegui, but they're not going to go for him either. Manchester United are not conducting a wide, extensive search for a manager. They never have been. It's just it's just noise. They're not conducting a wide search. The Telegraph are saying that the board and the staff are split on whether to go for Ten Hag or Pochettino. That's frustratingly concerning, even if it's true. Why are there people in that club that think Pochettino's the right man? I mean, because they're incompetent, of course, that's the answer. But I don't even think that's the case. I think the club are delaying the Pochettino thing because they don't know how to dress this up as a good decision. They know it's the decision they want to make, but they don't know how to dress Pochettino up as a good decision. And also, as I tweeted this morning, they've also got to hide or manipulate the situation that they're going to have to pay for Pochettino as well. Whether you think he's the right man or not, he's under contract with PSG. I think he's under contract for another year. So, and also, PSG are trying to win the French League, and they're going to be trying to win the French League until May. He's a manager till the end of the season, regardless, and they won't sack him until the summer anyway. So United need him in place now, making decisions about transfers now. And to do that, they're going to have to pay PSG. And PSG might want 5 million, they might want 10 million. So not only have United got to try and spin it so that the fan base think Pochettino's a good appointment, they've also got to find a way of getting him in now and pay PSG for it. So we're basically going to pay PSG for a manager that they're definitely going to sack in the summer, and a manager that's been sacked by Spurs, and a manager that most fans don't want. So that's the issue United have got here. I don't think we're conducting an extensive search as well. I'll put my hands up if they go and get Ten Hag or somebody else. I'll put my hands up and say, wow, maybe this club is moving in a different direction. But I think we all know what's coming. We all know it's going to be Pochettino, and I would expect something to happen around Pochettino in the next coming days, maybe even next week. I think something will be announced quite firmly around him. PSG will, and somebody just said in the chat then, well, how are we going to appoint him before the end of the season? Because PSG will let us have him. I mean, imagine this, right? Here's a scenario for you. You're in a relation, you're married, okay? You're married, and you've met somebody that you like. And you know that your wife has met someone that they like. It could be your husband. I don't want to be gender specific. But your partner's found you're married, your partner's found someone they like, and they don't know that you found someone you like as well. And basically, they're like, and you're not happy with them. And they go, well, I really want to leave you. And you're like, oh, God, I can't believe it. I'm absolutely gutted. You've betrayed my trust. Absolutely. But you've been seeing someone else on the side anyway. You can't. You're over the moon. They're going to go. So you say, well, you can go, but as long as you pay me some money. And that's what PSG are going to do. They don't want Pochettino, and they know that Pochettino wants to go to United, and United want Pochettino, and they know that they've got somebody better. But they'll go, oh, we're gutted. If you want to go, you've got to pay us. They're going to sack Pochettino in the summer. They will let him go now, as long as we pay them some money for him. So that's the stupid scenario with it, isn't it? I hope we don't get Pochettino, but I think it's well established. There's so many rumours going around from people who probably know a lot more than many of us do. Need to sign 5 or 6 players this summer, but we'll probably get Kane and Rice with Pochettino. Criminal when likes of Rudiger and Kessie available for free, says Fergus. And if there is conflict in the United staff about whether we should go for Ten Hag or Pochettino, I would imagine the Pochettino people are on the board, and the Ten Hag people will be, maybe people like Ralph Rangnick, maybe a Murta, maybe even a Fletcher, I don't know. But future thinkers will be going for Ten Hag, and the last 9-year thinkers will be going for Pochettino, and we know who will come out on top. We need top class CDM and CM, not average, says JH. We do. And actually that just brings me on to a point. We were talking about this on That's Football, and I wanted to bring it onto the morning show here. There are so many examples of the issues at Manchester United, and look, I will say this to you as well. It's a good point to bring this in. I think look, I have no issue with anybody. I'll call things out when I don't agree with it. I think that's very important when we're dealing with something that we love. But there's always, somebody can have a bad take for months and then they can have a really good take. And I think a lot of what Gary Neville said over the last 9 months has been quite frustrating, because he is a pundit that's respected, who openly admitted he wasn't going to speak honestly about somebody because they were their mate, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I personally think he's probably pushing for Pochettino, and I think that's a mistake as well. But I can't fault what he said here. He says, I don't blame Ralph Rangnick. There's big players in the club. There's big problems in this club. The owners are not good enough. The owners need to sell the club, and I've said that all season. And that's the sort of thing that's really important from somebody like Gary Neville, who obviously has a big audience and is a well-respected pundit. That ultimately, that's the bottom line. It's good of him to come out and say he doesn't blame Ralph Rangnick. He's right. There's big players in that club who've not delivered. There's big problems in the club, and the owners are not good enough, and neither is the board. And as he said, the owners need to sell, and he said that all season. And that's the bottom line. All Manchester United's problems can be solved by one action: the Glazers selling the club. Because if the Glazers sell the club, they ain't going to keep on the Glazers' mates on the board. They'll clear house, and they'll clear house in the coaching staff. They'll clear house in the playing staff, because every owner will want to stamp their authority, and what a load of authority you could stamp on this club. So it's good to hear Gary Neville saying that. I know a lot of you say it, I know I say it a lot, but it's good that gets mentioned at a time like this, because that is what needs to happen to Manchester United. The Glazers have owned this club for the last 9 years. I know they've owned it longer, but the last 9 years is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Somebody said to me last night, could you have envisaged when Sir Alex Ferguson retired that Man City, Chelsea and Liverpool would win titles and you wouldn't? And I couldn't. I think it's absolutely disgusting how this club has not been in a title race since Sir Alex Ferguson retired 10 years ago. Nearly 10 years ago. But if somebody said to me United aren't going to win a title for 10 years, I fully expect that in 10 years somebody's got to win the title 10 times. I fully expect it's not going to be bloody Leicester every year. It probably is going to be Man City, Chelsea and Liverpool. So that's what people don't realise. Liverpool winning the league is on us. Chelsea winning the league is on us. Man City winning leagues or trebles or anything else is on us. If you basically forfeit and say we're not a club that wants to win titles anymore, somebody will step into your place. And look, well done to Liverpool for their rebuild. Well done to Man City. Well done to Chelsea. Well done to Leicester for winning Premier League titles. But we retired from winning titles and went, off you go, fill your boots. That's what the Glazers did. We were a team. We didn't win the league every year, but we always challenged for the league. And we just said, no, we're not going to do that anymore. If you walk away from something for 10 years and say you're not going to do it anymore, someone else is going to jump in and do it. And that's the way, that's what's happened at Manchester United. Given the attitude of these players, wouldn't someone like Simeone or Conte be useful, says Animist? Well, I don't like Simeone's style of football. I really don't. But I do I prefer Conte and I prefer Conte. And just picking up on that as well, big shout out to Barcelona and Real Madrid, football clubs that have fallen on hard times, that are desperately trying to get back on top as quick as possible. And look at what they've done. Look at what Real Madrid have done. Expensive mistakes like Eden Hazard and others. And they don't dwell on them. They're like, well, you're not going to start. You're not starting games. We'll find a way for you to leave the club. Gareth Bale as well. I know he's been there a long time, but he's been frozen out for years. They've sort of tried it. He's not that good. Right, you're not going to play. Don't care what wage you're on, you're not going to play. Eden Hazard, there's other examples as well. Barcelona, expensive mistakes on people like Coutinho and Griezmann and others. They're either not at the club anymore or they've got rid of them. That's what a football club does. Look at what Real Madrid and Barcelona have done. They've made very expensive mistakes, and those expensive mistakes don't start games for them. They're like, look, we've made a mistake. Let's not compound this mistake through arrogance, ignorance and naivety by picking these players and hoping that our mistakes are going to correct themselves. They get rid of those mistakes and they get them out of the club. And it does cost them a lot of money and they do look a little bit foolish. But you know the best way to not look foolish is to correct your mistake. Look at what Daniel Levy did at Spurs. Nuno was a bad appointment. 3 months later he gets rid of him and he gets Conte. And no one talks about Nuno anymore. No one talks about that mistake anymore because they've got the right man in. Same with Barcelona. They've got rid of their mistakes. Same with Real Madrid. They'll get rid of their mistakes. What do we do as a football club at Manchester United? We don't get rid of our mistakes. The expensive mistakes that we make on ridiculous wages, we're going to look really stupid if we don't pick them. It's going to cost us our dividends. We can't sell them. Nobody wants them. So let's just keep picking them and hope that they start playing well. That's basically what United are going to do for the next 2 years. Certain players that cost us a lot of money, who are on big wages, who clearly aren't good enough and clearly have had chance after chance after chance after chance, we're going to keep picking them. And that is why Man United will continue to fail, because from top to bottom we make bad decisions. And this is football. You know football better than most people in that football club. If a player ain't good enough for the top level, they ain't good enough for the top level. It's like having a horse that you think's going to run and win you the Grand National and it doesn't win it. Oh, I'll try again next year. It doesn't win it. Doesn't win it. It's not going to win it. It's not going to win it. So United can't figure that out. When they make expensive mistakes, they panic and they go, well, we're going to look really stupid. We can't sell them. They're on big money. We don't want to spend any more on getting a good player in. Just use the same old shit that you've got. That mentality has been a problem at this club for 9 years as well. We compound the mistakes. We buy badly, we buy expensively, and then we keep them and keep using them instead of being a football club, because ultimately we've got dividends to pay. We've got shareholders to please. We're not a football club, we're a brand. And it's very true. When you look at how other clubs act, I think look at how Barcelona have acted and Real Madrid have acted. And look, yeah, I know Barcelona were in big trouble last summer, but they still want to improve and work well. Poch bottled it with a 2-0 lead and world-class squad. Weren't saying, I don't want Pochettino. I'm not going to talk about Pochettino. I don't want Pochettino. I'm not going to start naming the players as well who are expensive mistakes, because we all know who they are. I'm tired of it. I don't want Pochettino, and there's a few players in this club that shouldn't be here, but the club just won't do anything about it. And Gary Neville's right. We need to start putting the blame where it really lies, with the board and the Glazers. These players who are not good enough to wear the shirt for United are going to be here next season. they should be kicked out of the club. Who's got the power to do that? The board, the Glazers. They should be doing it. It's almost... These players ain't good enough. The club ain't good enough. Anyway, so that's the update from there. We've spoken about that. Spoken about Gary Neville's comments. Yeah, another story coming in as well about Manchester United looking at Declan Rice, Harry Kane, and Alexander Isak. I forget the where that actually story came from, but I think Declan Rice is a player that Manchester United do want to sign. Welcome to the Members Club, Wong. Thank you very much. Salit, why don't you tell us what the result? He said there was a poll on BT Sport for the right man for Man United. Tell us who they got it. Ten Hag is 52, and he's got 18 years as a top level coach. What's wrong with being 52? You ageist. Luke says he doesn't want Declan Rice. Most corporations have a mission statement. I'm sure United's has nothing to do with football, says Nicholas. 100%. 100% it doesn't. But in relation to Declan Rice, he will move. I forgot. I should have said this earlier. What I was told, and I wrote it down. No summer like it. I was speaking to a transfer journalist a couple of weeks ago, and they said to me there will be no summer like this. This summer is going to be not just at United. Hopefully at United it will be, but definitely in the transfer market in general. There's not going to be a summer like this. This is going to be a peak summer in the transfer window. And there's two factors that make it so. One, it's the first summer where COVID's not really been a fear. That doesn't mean that COVID couldn't come back, but ultimately clubs coming into this season didn't know what was going to happen with COVID. Were we going to go back to stadiums without fans in, etc.? So that provides some clarity for future planning for clubs and allows them to spend. The second thing is there's no major tournaments in the summer because the World Cup's at Christmas. So clubs have got a lot more time, a lot more free time. Players have got more time. They're not going on international duty, having a holiday, coming back and thinking I'll just stay here for another season. Players, agents have got more time to think about moves and pushing moves, and clubs have got more time to deal with them. So no summer like it. This is going to be a very, very big summer, and it's hard to predict what the biggest signing will be because Mbappe will go, Haaland will go. There may be other big signings we don't know. So it's going to be a massive summer. SPD and Denzel, thank you very much for becoming members of the club. Appreciate your support. Please smash a like on the video. Let's see if we can get 1,000 likes. There's another tweet I need to check, but I want to just get to this. Declan Rice will leave West Ham. Other players will leave elsewhere as well. And the reality is that how do Manchester United feature in this? We know we need a striker, but we also know a lot of other clubs need strikers. We know we need midfielders, but we also know a lot of other clubs need midfielders. I mean, Arsenal, they want a striker and they want a holding midfielder. It's exactly the same as us. The race for top four could be very interesting because Arsenal, if they've got the same budget as us, they're a better club than us, with a better coach than us, with a better future plan than us, looking for players that we need. So United's summer is very, very hard to work out, especially when you don't have the manager in place. So somebody just said that there's a tweet from Samuel Luckhurst. I don't think there's a tweet from Samuel Luckhurst in the last few minutes. His last one was about Paul Pogba and Ramsdale, so I don't know what people are talking about there. Mark, United's search for managers creates more buzz than United going for players. This is not going to end anytime soon, says Kartik. Well, I think, going back to what I was saying there, do I think that Declan Rice will come to Manchester United? I think it'd be stupid to come to Manchester United. I'd like him to come to United. I think he's a good player, but I think it'd be stupid to come to United. I think that it's a toxic club at the moment and that needs more than Declan Rice. I think United would have to spend maybe £80 million for Declan Rice, and that would be most of our budget. One player doesn't fix this. And also, there's a couple of reasons why I wouldn't come here if I was Declan Rice. One, his next move, he should be looking to play in the Champions League and challenge for titles. I think he's 22, isn't he now? So he can't afford to come into a club and spend 3 or 4 years. Pogba's the warning. You can lose your 20s at United winning sod all. So I think Declan Rice needs to go to a club where he can play Champions League football and challenge for titles. Well, we can't offer that. Also, if we buy Declan Rice, we're going to use most of our budget. And I think if it doesn't go well, people are going to think Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Harry Maguire, we've done this before, spent a lot of money on an English player that ultimately hasn't made... So it's not the right move for him. And also, there's no guarantee about development. So I wouldn't be surprised if Declan Rice came to United. I don't think it's the right move for him at all. I think he wants to go to Chelsea, but Chelsea might not be able to do that deal. But don't rule out Man City, and Man City would be a much better move for him. So it's going to be a very... The reason I say no summer like it, because I was told it 2 weeks ago, is because it won't matter how much money Manchester United have got this summer. There's going to be a lot of other clubs doing business. Aston Villa wanted Basuma in January, so they're looking for a holding midfielder. Newcastle are going to want to keep spending money. Arsenal, as I've said, you don't know what Liverpool, Man City and Chelsea are going to do. So there's 6 rivals, at least, in the Premier League who've got money to spend looking at positions we want. Then you've got European clubs, because, let's be honest, European clubs are looking to do stuff as well. So even if United were in the Champions League, we're still in a very competitive environment for players that we want. We probably won't be in the Champions League. We probably won't have a huge budget. So, and we don't know who the manager's going to be yet. So United's summer is ridiculous. And I think my fear is, and this goes back to this story about Declan Rice, Harry Kane and Alexander Isak. United can't just go, we want these players but we can't get them, let's just not buy somebody, or let's just get somebody who's a bit less known. What do United do when they're in trouble? They overspend and they go for shirt sellers. So are Arsenal going to get Harry Kane? No. Man City aren't, Liverpool aren't, Chelsea aren't. He's not going to leave England. We're the number one. We are exactly the right place for Harry Kane because we have got the money. We're used to spending silly money. We'll pay silly wages, and nobody else is going to want him. Not because he's not a bad player, but no one else is going to pay the money we're going to pay. So I can see United this summer just spending big on a Harry Kane or a Declan Rice because that will sell some shirts. That will get some positivity. But it's actually the last thing we should do this summer. What we should have done, and I don't think we've done it anyway, is we should have been looking to bring 3 or 4 players in for about £40 million each to rebuild that squad and reinvigorate it. But how can they do that when they don't even have the manager in place at the moment? So United are running out of time. They haven't got the manager in place. They know they've got to do something in the summer. I think we're hurtling towards the obvious. We get the manager in later than we should have done. And then everyone else has advanced their business wisely. So we just go, £100 million for Harry Kane. That'll do. Shirt sales, we're winning the league. So I think that is probably what we're looking to do. And I think that Manchester United have got history for that. But as I said, biggest summer we've had in a very long time. And it's going to be a very, very big summer to do that. Now, Erik ten Hag is Manchester United's preferred option to become their next manager, says Samuel Luckhurst. Well, if that is true, and it's coming in from a few people now, Justin, Erik ten Hag is Man United's preferred option to become their next manager. As it stands, ten Hag is United's prime choice to take over in the summer, but the club has not made a final decision as it continues with its process. Do you trust that? Do you really trust that? That's not as clear as I thought it was. So he's the preferred option, but they've not made a final decision. Nah. I need more than that, people. I need a lot more than that. That, to me, is spin. That is a smoke screen. It's smoking more than a broken down tractor. That is what we've just been talking about 20 minutes ago. This is a complete and utter... And Luckhurst is another one who gets... So we've had Whitwell, Ducker and Luckhurst, which I'd expect, all in the last 24 hours, all probably quite well briefed by the club, because they all, I mean, I can't say that with guarantee, but they all do get good information from the club. And, you know, you've got James Ducker saying that Manchester United are split on Ten Hag and Pochettino. You've got Whitwell saying that, you know, Man United are looking at Pochettino and others as well as Ten Hag, and then you've got Luckhurst coming out that Ten Hag's the preferred choice, but no final decision's been made. Well, I think you can almost establish the truth from all three. Ducker's probably speaking to somebody different Luckhurst is probably speaking to somebody who wants Ten Hag, but there's no final decision. Ducker's saying that they're split on Ten Hag and Pochettino. What do I think? I think, well, look, 24 hours ago, well, nearly 48 hours ago, we were knocked out of the Champions League. We're in a terrible position. We're nearly out of the top 4. How do you make the fan base feel positive? You put a story out that we are looking at Ten Hag, but no final decision's been made. What does that do? Doesn't mean we're getting Ten Hag. It just means that the fan base gets excited about Ten Hag, stops thinking about how shit the club is, stops thinking about being out of the Champions League, starts looking forward positively. Then next week they appoint Poch. If we signed Harry Kane, would he be captain? Says David. I doubt it. I really doubt it. Mark, be positive. I've got no reason to be positive, mate. If you want to be positive, crack on. It must be great. If the club gets Ten Hag, Donny will blossom under him, says Pom. Harry Kane to United would be a flat move for him. Why would he do it? Money, money, money. The Glazer cycle is back. So yeah, it is breaking news. It is coming from the Manchester Evening News that Ten Hag is the preferred option for Manchester United, but it also goes on to say that no final decision has been made. To me, that is just a positivity story to make people feel excited about Ten Hag. It doesn't mean it will happen, and ultimately, if it didn't happen in a week's time, it's achieved its purpose of quelling your frustration about Tuesday night and the state of the football club by feeling positive about something that may not happen. That in itself is the definition of spinning the fan base, which is what's just happened whilst we're live on air. If we get Ten Hag, I will say well done to the club. Well done to the club. It's the right decision to do, but I don't trust them to do that. I feel that this is a story that's just completely and utterly the definition of what this club's been doing for years. Oh, we're going to get this player, but no final decision's been made. We're going to get this manager, but no final decision's been made. He's the preferred choice, but no final decision's been made. What does that even mean? He's the preferred choice, but no final decision's been made. How can you be the preferred choice and no final decision's been made? It doesn't make sense. So, I'm starving hungry. I'm at McDonald's. I want a Big Mac, but no final decision's been made. I might go for a McChicken sandwich. Like, what does that even mean? Preferred choice, but no final decision's been made. Preferred choice, but no final decision's been made by Ten Hag makes sense, but preferred choice, but no final decisions made stinks to me of no final decisions been made. When do you think we should realistically appoint an official manager, says Kieran? Look, I've always said this. I believe that you could have conversations with Ten Hag now, and you could announce it in the next week over the international break, because I don't think Ajax would mind that. I don't know whether you can do that with Pochettino. United can spend big on good players, but at the same time, there are plenty of players on a free, so United are active can also be a good window, says Eric. Thank you very much. And there we go. Okay, well, look, we are where we are. We'll see what happens. It stinks of bullshit, says Ross. And yeah, it's I think the official manager appointment could happen in the next 2 weeks if it was Ten Hag. I think if it's Pochettino, probably won't happen until the end of the season, but the club will know who it is. Luis Enrique is a good choice, but he won't leave Spain before Christmas. The Ten Hag story is nonsense. We could get him now for next season. The longer it drags out, it just means they're negotiating with Poch, as Joshua Bowwater. Yeah, I don't believe it. I'm actually going to put a tweet out. I don't believe it. I think it's complete and utter nonsense. I think it's exactly what we're talking about, this spin bollocks. So let's wait and see what happens. We're right to be sceptical. Let's hope it's true, but we're right to be sceptical, of course. I am back at 2 o'clock. Let's see what happens in the next few hours. Maybe something will happen with that. We've got the normal 8 o'clock show for you tonight as well. There's no TUSFC today. I don't do it on a Thursday, Kiran, so I'll put some highlights up for you when we're back tomorrow. That was a good late night stream last night. Make sure you subscribe, bottom right hand corner, so that any notifications go off when we go live if anything breaks. Hopefully we will get something positive, but I wouldn't count on it. And we're all a bit dizzy this morning from the spin as well. Thanks everyone for watching. Cracking show as ever. Speak to you all in a bit.